In these thrilling and difficult episodes, the superheroic and warrior-like qualities of Tony Beets, a gold miner, and the Winchester crew, who are able to survive the challenge of recovering their most recent machinery, are brought to the forefront. In the event that their excavator stops functioning owing to chain problems, what strategies will Winchester crew employ to deal with the situation? As a result of this circumstance, how will they get the end that they want? Let's join Tony Beets and the Winchester crew in their pursuit of gold and dive headfirst into the extremely fascinating endeavors that they are involved in. During his search for gold in Paradise Hill, Yukon, Tony Beets jumps headfirst into his objective. Tony Beets is making progress in the correct direction to achieve his goal of digging 5,000 ounces of gold, utilizing the sophisticated technology that is operating to effectively carry out his objective. He is in the process of maintaining his previous record. The most significant obstacle that he must overcome in his endeavor is the weather conditions, which have the potential to produce a significant disruption in his path. Even though it is the middle of September, the persistent rain is making the situation more stressful for the leader of the clan Dyke. This is because the rain is slowing down the machinery. In light of the fact that he is only 900 ounces away from achieving his objective, he is all set to dig the 80 pup cut, which has a great deal of potential to uncover a substantial quantity of gold. The rain is making things tough for them because it is filling the pond with water, but he is so excited to see the mounds of gold that are in the 80 pup cut. They were confronted with the same difficulty 12 weeks earlier, which led to the entire suspension of their operation. At that time, the ponds were flooded with water, and they had to construct them once more. This time, the same weather scenario puts a significant amount of pressure on his nerves, and he instructs Mike, one of his crew members, to take the 220 excavator to the dike by the pump area in order to fix things up and to prevent the dreadful repercussions of the water falling down in the ponds and disrupting their activities. The excavator 220 that Mike is operating is making its way through the sticky mud on its way to the dike. In spite of the rain that is getting heavier, he is hoping to reach the dike as quickly as possible. The excavator gradually slows down as a result of the muddy ground, which prevents it from progressing any further than it already has. In an instant, the excavator comes to a complete halt and starts to sink steadily. When he sees the excavator sunk down there, he appears to be somewhat dissatisfied. At this time, Tony arrives at the location and expresses his desire to retrieve the submerged excavator. He immediately ceases all of his mining activities because he is unable to continue with the mining endeavors without the excavator, and he cannot allow his machine to continue in this manner. It was initially their intention to pull the sinking excavator out of the water with the assistance of 2 additional excavators. However, this endeavor has not produced any results at all. They need to broaden the scope of their struggles in order to bring heavy gear to a state where it can function properly. As soon as Tony comes up with a strategy to bring the excavator through the door, they are prepared to put it into action without delay. He divulges his strategy to bring in further reinforcements. It is his intention to bring the 18-ton D6 dozer, as well as the enormous 115-ton D11 dozer. In order to construct a sturdy foundation for the excavator, he intends to first remove the water from the area surrounding the submerged excavator, and then, with the assistance of a D6 dozer, force the coarse tailing into the hole. Last but not least, the colossal D11, which is a monster with 850 horsepower, will bring out the excavator while it is on the sturdy reinforced ramp. Within the plan, they discover a glimmer of optimism. In spite of the fact that the idea appears to be fantastic, it turns out to be quite challenging to implement due to the enormous amount of dirty water. Tony assumes control of the D6 dozer and starts the process of removing the water from the area. As it should have been, it starts to demonstrate the progress that has been made. On the other side, Mike begins to add coarse tailing to the pit, and it proves to be really beneficial for them. Even if the severe rain in Paradise Hill slows down the process of gold hunting, Tony is still optimistic that he will be able to harvest more gold out of the 80 pup cut because it has proven to be quite fertile in terms of producing gold. Tony and his family are currently seated at the dinner table, which is located in their regular location. He laughs at Mike's suggestion that he should be held accountable for allowing their excavator to become submerged in the muck because he has been driving the excavator without paying attention to the directions. It appears that he is pleased to be able to release the tension in a span of 2 to 3 hours. Despite the fact that Tony claims that the success is the result of his engineering and wisdom, Mike says that it is relatively simple to retrieve the excavator. Tony laughs as he makes this assertion. In the meantime, Mike is weighing the gold that he has acquired by pouring it into the tray. Tony requires 300 ounces of gold in order to maintain the functioning of their family's system. As soon as Mike starts pouring gold out of the jar, the entire family immediately focuses their attention on the scale, and they start reading it out loud. Almost immediately, the readout goes beyond 300 and to 500 ounces, which is significantly higher than what they had anticipated. The entire amount of gold that they acquire is 4,601 ounces, and they receive 500 ounces of gold that is worth $850,000. As a result of their excursion that took place in extremely severe weather conditions, they consider it to be exceptional. Jason Fraser, another mining boss, has arrived to Tony Beets' Hunker Cut along with his Winchester crew. This is occurring on the opposite side of the fence. They have been in Yukon for the first time, and they are getting close to the end of their first season there. After the toil associated with a lengthy summer season, they are so eager to get back to their homes. Therefore, in order for them to continue living freely, all that is required of them is 200 ounces of gold to pay their landlords. They are optimistic that they will achieve their ultimate outcome, which is to acquire approximately 200 ounces of gold. Tony gives his blessing to the proposal because he will profit 30% from it. As of right now, they have already reached 106 ounces, and the entire cut has been thoroughly investigated. The truck that John Van Tuyl is driving to the Winchester is equipped with a double-barrel wash plant that he has constructed at his home. He is holding the steering wheel. Over the course of the season, it has been functioning fairly well, and he is still holding out hope that it will continue to function in the same manner. As the third member of their skeleton crew, Butch, who was formerly employed as a logger, goes through the process of becoming an excavator operator. He goes from being a novice to being deeply appreciative. In the midst of his announcement that he is on the final thread of 10,000 yards, the excavator suddenly hits a setback. In the course of its operation, the chain of the excavator breaks. Following his descent from the excavator, he makes a beeline for Jason in order to convey the news that the trammel has ceased functioning. Upon Jason's arrival, they investigate the situation and discover that the chain that is dangling down the excavator is the cause of the machine's inability to function properly. They discover that the chain has been severed from the master link, which is responsible for holding the entire chain together. If the master link has become inoperable, the Winchester weapon system will be unable to spin its twin-barrel wash system. They have arrived at the conclusion that in order to avoid any delays in their work, they need to locate an additional master link to the chain. They search through a large bag of links and correctly identify the one that can be of assistance in the event that it is needed. However, John instructs Butch to attach the master link that is broken. He requests that he activate the TRL by turning the black button on the opposite side of the device to the opposite position. Subsequently, he requests that he let it go slowly while holding it. After that, he instructs him to move his hand slightly, since he does not want to cause his hand to get more compressed. Immediately after he raises his hand, the chain is unable to reach its wheel and they are forced to halt it for a period of time. They give it another go in an effort to recreate the procedure, and this time, they are able to make some further headway. During this time, Jason arrives at the location with the master link and climbs up the ladder in order to execute an assault on the chain. Finally, the Winchester crew succeeds in continuing their mining operation after the hard 2 hours of labor with the chain. They have a limited amount of time to meet their objective of 200 ounces, which is still 94 ounces short. Winter is just about to set in, and they have that time as a premium. When it comes to machinery, Jason laughs at the fact that they, like people, do not enjoy working during the winter months. Having returned to Tony's residence, he is currently seated alongside his woman. They have positioned themselves in anticipation of the Winchester crew, who are just about to arrive after cleaning the final patch. While he is thrilled, he is also hopeful that the Winchester crew will be able to accomplish what they have set out to do. During this time, the Winchester crew arrives at the location, and Tony inquires about the malfunction of the equipment that is causing them difficulties in their endeavor. Jason starts to pour the gold from a box onto the weighing scale, and they start reading it out loud at around the same time. They appear to be quite ecstatic and content with the discovery of 101 ounces of gold, which is beyond their expectations. This is because they have finally accomplished their objective, which is to acquire gold worth $350,000. Tony extends his most heartfelt congratulations to them on the success. Not long ago, he did something even more amazing. He made $364,000 in gold by getting a new operator to move the sluicifer. The project already owed a huge $15 million, and Parker didn't know how to get out of this mess. There were daily costs and pressing repairs that needed to be done. There was some hope in the idea of getting a $160 million payday in the Dominion, but there were many unknowns along the way. It became clear when he admitted that the whole thing was making him feel pretty worried. He felt a little uneasy for the first time in a few years. He wasn't alone, though, which was good. His team would be there for him no matter what. To save the working bodies, Tyson had to take on everything. He got permission to use the mine from Ken Tatlow and Stuart Schmidt, and then began the impossible job of making the experience great again. No one expected the first cut to be so bad, and it took a lot longer than anyone thought it would. As soon as Parker realized how important it was, the pressure rose. He thought Tyson would be able to get up soon. The determination of Parker stayed strong, even though the work to prepare the new spot was hard. He went on to say that while he was getting El Dorado ready, he thought he had a lot of time. But when he was getting the next plant pad ready, he realized he didn't. As Parker dealt with the problems at El Dorado, everyone was left wondering if his unwavering determination would help him get through the tough times and find the gold stores that could make his mining project a success. Parker and Tyson were both involved in the El Dorado. Moving the wash plant at the El Dorado cut was a huge task that turned some important events in Tyson's life. They had everything they needed except time, because the process had to be done by a certain date. The due date for this job was Sunday, and if it was completed successfully, it would be able to stay alive. The plot jumbled up money problems, practical issues, and the almost constant search for the jackpot at Dominion into a mess of problems that needed to be carefully handled. The financial situation added another level of difficulty to the story. The operation, which was already a financial puzzle, was done with the worry of possible bills and the costs of running the business. As I watch them, I can't help but wonder, will this smart move help them find the gold mines they were looking for? Or will it be a big mistake on the crazy road of gold mining? At some point in this nail-biting story, you couldn't help but wonder, would Parker Schnabel's huge risk pay off? Or would his growing financial responsibilities and practical problems make it impossible for him to reach his goal of finding a gold mine? Dominion is a world where gold rules and fortunes can change in an instant. Parker Schnabel found himself in a very bad spot. Now is the time for the dream of the unreachable gold to change. Along with it came hard times financially, so the business could stay open. The heat had almost made this area its home. It makes me wonder what it's like to be ruled over. The answer is as easy as the question, but it beautifully describes the harsh conditions these miners have to work in every day. The word Domian means sovereign, and the people who were looking for treasure buried in its land often tell it what its rules are. Another look at the area points to the harshness that is hidden by the light. Parker and his team's determination should definitely be praised. Recently, the weather has gone up, which has raised the bar for what is acceptable. This seemingly normal talk showed how hard these people's lives were. They had to work from dawn until dusk in the hot sun. The next step was to sluice there, but that wasn't official yet. As the thought of starting the sluicing process set in, there was a sense of excitement in the air. After some time, they said that sluicing wouldn't happen because they needed to get better at it first before moving the business. The team was eager to start sluicing, but first, they had to make some strategic choices. There was a lot of tension in the gold mining business because Tico, who was making efforts to make things run more smoothly, set a hard goal. As the order echoed through the mining site, the story unfolded quickly. Tico wanted the plant to begin buzzing before morning. The attention then turned to Tyson, whose scary job it was to move sluicifer around on a pole that wasn't stable. Tyson had to make up sluicifer out of a leaning stick he had lying around. The language used made it clear that the business was sloppy and rushed, even if no one knew how to make learning staff. Putting pressure on Tyson became an important part of the story, a major source of tension that gave the story more depth. To move the sluicifer, you had to have a steady hand and a lot of skill that you learned over time. Tyson had to deal with a lack of experienced hands while working on a tough job. Alec and Liam helped out the last time, and it looked like they were going to drag Lucifer while Evan Kurtz, who was just an operator and didn't know how to move a wash plant, moved Lucifer. The moving of the wash plant was complicated by the fact that parts had to be slung up to the sluicifer and then pulled down to the new pad by the 750. The main reason it was hard to do was because changing wash plants was hard to do when there were already few hands available. As Tyson and Evan took on the job of moving the pieces of sluice fur to its new location, the story took an interesting turn. It wasn't just a jump that was being planned, it was a symbolic risk in the dangerous world of gold mining. Once sluice fur was taken apart piece by piece, sharing could be seen as both a risky move and a game of chance. People who watched this story grow as a dynamic journey had to think about what would happen with the operation and the luck that was going on at the same time. Everything that was done in the world of gold mining had the power to change the whole course of the season, even sluice fur's seemingly random jump. The 45-ton wash plant, sluice fur, that held the promise of $364,000 in gold hung over their heads. Tyson and his team had to carefully move sluice fur so that the process would go as planned. To get to its new wash plant pad, sluice fur had to go up a steep ramp, which was hard to do because of the environment. Tyson used the 750 excavator, which was the best one on site at the time, to help carry the heavy lucifer up the hill because he knew it was a period piece. As the story goes on, there is an amazing scene of bravery as they try to get around their opponent. But behind it all is the dangerous operation. The shot was tense because of the way the land was angled and how rude the Washington plant was. The wash plant started to slowly but surely rise because Tyson knew how to use everything he had at the time in a strategic way. From the first few steps toward the wash plant, you could feel the stress in the story, and Tyson's main point made the already difficult task even harder. He said that his bucket would be used as a small wrench. He talked about how you need to be able to adapt and be creative when you run into problems you didn't expect. At this point, everyone is almost in pain from the fight and can feel the strain of the hard mental and physical work that needs to be done to get the sluice fur where it needs to be. Tyson's smart use of the bucket as a makeshift crowbar showed how important it was to be able to think quickly and change to survive in the unpredictable world of gold mining. So the operation as a whole relied on the team, and how well they did in this last stage was crucial to achieving the overall goal of a successful season in the Dominion. If this last step is completed successfully, not only will the difficult task be over, but Parker Schnabel will also have the chance to reach his big season goal. The team's ability to deal with the difficulty of this important configuration determined whether the whole operation succeeded or failed. As soon as the work was done, the wash plant set firmly on the pad, giving everyone a sense of readiness and accomplishment. The construction of the conveyor and the hopper feeder was a big deal in and of itself. It was a clear sign that gold processing was about to start. After following this high-stakes operation through all of its changes and surprises, I couldn't help but feel satisfied. There was a promise of gold worth $364,000 off in the distance. The problems were solved, and now everyone was waiting for the next part of Parker Schnabel's story. This move could change everything for Parker. It could get him a big payday and help him beat the challenges of gold digging in Dominion. After finding $364,000 in gold, he was making smart decisions, like letting a new operator move the slucifer, which was the most important job. Using slucifer in Gold Rush has had a big effect on the show and the people who watch it. Slucifer's demonstration of cutting-edge technology shows how the gold mining business has changed over time. The time was running out, and every second counted as they looked for the hard-to-find gold that would decide whether the mission succeeded or failed. Parker said he liked how the move was organized. After the rig move, the story went on to look at the day after. Everyone was so eager to hear the result that they stood on edge to listen. They knew that today's machine was the only one that could tell them how productive the whole season had been. The news of the golden sample led to both hope and disappointment. We called that sluicing. Parker was looking for a 5,000-ounce endonym to keep his business from going through a lot of trouble. He needed 300 ounces of water a week to get it. For the team, this was the last payment thanks to Parker's vice, a 5,000-ounce season worth $364,000. After that, the count by the number of ounces showed that there was, in fact, a pileup that was different from the group's weekly goal, but still impressive.
All right, 20,